That time I got reincarnated as a true dragon by NautyManu. Chapter 92. A preview of the prize sounds of sword clashing could be heard in the arena as two streaks of lights danced. One was a pink glow that is constantly on the offensive. The other is a purple glow that is receiving every attack with practice ease. These two glows are Milim and Rimuru, who are having a spar. The reason they looked like streams of light is because of their high-speed movements. Do note that none of them are using any magic, and this is a spar with pure swordsmanship. Don't force your swings, Milim. Remember, let the sword come in its own flow. You forcing it will only increase the backlash, Rimuru instructed as she parried another one of Milim's strikes. Milim said nothing as she tried to deliver her next attack. This time her attack was even more fierce as she poured in some extra stellar mana. But Rimuru just as usual parried the attack and said, "Don't waste your magicules on such unnecessary attacks. It will just exhaust your mental energy. Use the force that your sword generates to power your attacks." Milim nodded as she tried to do what Rimuru said. She tried to use the force that was generated by her sword to make her attacks way faster. Milim, don't forget your control. It is meaningless if you can't control your output, then you will just create an opening for your enemy to exploit. Rimuru said as hit Milim in the abdomen when she lost her balance due to not being able to control her sword strike perfectly. This went on for another hour or two. Rimuru would tell Milim's shortcomings while she just defended herself. Similar to Veldanava, Rimuru too created her own sword style. Her swordsman style is called Tempest Sword Arts, and its essence is to adapt to the enemy's movements. This is the perfect style for her, who is constantly analyzing her opponent. Since Tempest Arts mainly focuses on defense, she had no problem being Milim's test subject. "Okay, that's enough for today," Rimuru said as she sheathed her blade. They had been going at it for a few hours straight. "Okay," Milim said with a disappointed tone. She didn't know that her swordsmanship had that many flaws. She was beginning to lose confidence. Rimuru seeing this sighed as she said, "Hey Milim, why don't we go on a small field trip? It's been a while since we went anywhere." "Oh, where are we going?" Milim asked as her mood changed to one of excitement. She really liked going on an adventure. Rimuru smiled and replied, "To the human world." "Huh. That's all Mim could say as she stood there with her mouth opened. "Wow, so this is the human world, huh?" Milim said as she looked around with barely contained excitement. Had it not been for Rimmer holding her hand, Milim might have run around to satisfy her curiosity. "Yes, this is the human world, or what demons called the material world. More specifically speaking, we are in one of the many towns in the western countries," Rimuru said as she explained to Milim. Her perhaps is to spark the desire in Milim, so Rimuru didn't hold back in her explanation. She knew Milim would undoubtedly train even harder if she found out how much interesting the human world is. "Oh, then what's that?" Milim said as she pointed to a stall. This street stall has a few targets hung on the wall. And there is also a sign that reads, "Pick a dart and win a prize. Only 5 coppers per 3 darts." "Oh, that is a stall that give prizes after they complete the challenge they give. Are you interested, Mim?" Rimuru asked with a smile. Milim nodded her head repeatedly. She was super duper interested. Laughing at Milim's antics, Rimuru said, "Well then, what are waiting for? Let's go there immediately." And so she and Milim both walked towards the stall. The stall was run by a middle-aged man. When he saw both Rimuru and Milim walking towards his stall, he smiled and said, "Welcome, would you like to try today's challenge? Hit 3 targets correctly and win a prize. It's only 5 coppers for 1 try." "We will like to try then," Rimuru said as she handed 5 copper coins to the man. The man smiled and gave her 3 darts. Taking the darts, she handed them to Milim and said, "Here, you can try, but remember to control your strength. 1 screw up and we are going back immediately." Hearing her warning, Milim's smile turned stiff for a moment. She then confidently said, "Don't worry, Auntie Rimuru, I know how to hold back." "You better do," Rimuru said as she narrowed her eyes. She didn't have any confidence in Milim's words. So she secretly gathered macules to interfere in case if it was necessary. Countless years of damage fixing is not something someone could scoff at. Milim gulped as she took the darts. She then closed one eye and consecrated. After taking a dart to her right hand, she made a throwing gesture. After a few seconds, she threw the dart. The dart flew at astonishing speed and hit the target in the middle. "Amazing accuracy, young lady." The middle-aged man commented as he praised Milam's efforts. It isn't every day you see someone succeeding in their first try. Milam didn't reply as she was still in deep concentration. She took another dart and threw it like the last one. Swish! The dart also hit the target right in the middle, and Milam continuing the momentum threw her last dart, achieving another perfect shot. Yes, I did it, Milam said excitedly as she jumped happily. Rimuru smiled as she clapped a little. Even the passerby who saw this also clapped at Milam's success. Congratulations, little lady. What prize would you like? The middle-aged man smiled. Behind him there were rows of various prizes for anyone to choose. Milam rubbed her chin as she thought hard. After a few minutes of deep thinking, she pointed at a pink teddy bear. I would like that one, she said with a twinkle in her eyes. The man smiled and handed Milam her prize. Here you go, little lady. Receiving her prize, Milam laughed happily. She then showed it to Rimuru and said, Look, Aunt Rimuru, this is the prize I won. Rimuru smiled and said, Good for you, Milam. Say, why don't we go to other stalls? I think I saw a dango stall over there, Rimuru said, pointing in a certain direction. Hearing the word dango, Milam's eye began to shine. She excitedly dragged Rimuru by her hand and ran towards the direction Rimuru just pointed at. Dango, here I come. Like that, both Rimuru and Milam toured the whole town, fully enjoying themselves. At the end of the day, Milam had a renewed determination to complete her training. After enjoying herself today, she knew she wanted to experience this feeling again. Chapter 93. Pack everything you want to bring. That's it, Milam, you are doing good so far, Rimuru said as she blocked Milam's sword strike. It has been more than 5 years after their little trip to the human world. During these past few years, Milam had been training more diligently than ever. Not only did she manage to master star breathing, she even managed to create her own sword attacks. If that wasn't impressive enough, she even managed to perfect her magicule control, something the past Milam wasn't able to do. Truthfully speaking, Rimuru wanted to give the go permission to Milam 2 years ago, but at Seal words she delayed it. According to Seal, these years are the best time for Milam to reach her full potential. And Rimuru had to admit listening to Ciel's words was worth it. Milam managed to increase her strength to a very high level without even having an ultimate skill. Not only is she more disciplined than her counterpart, she is even able to use magic to a controllable level and not destroy everything in her path. Psy kids sure grow up fast. You can even fight toe-to-toe with me when I'm not using magic. Rimuru said as she looked at Milam, who was slumped on the ground. After a day-long training session, Milam finally hit her limit. Ha ha, does this mean I can go to the human world now? Milam asked while panting. This wasn't the first time she asked this question. Ever since she came back from the trip, she would ask this same question every day. Yes, you can go there tomorrow. Today you should pack everything you want to bring, Rimuru said as she sheathed her blade. You really mean it? Milam asked as she stood up immediately. Rimuru could swear she saw Milam's eyes shine like 2 stars. Yes, Milam, I really mean it. So go now. First take a bath and pack your bag, Rimuru said as she chased Milam away. Okay, come on, Gia, let's go, Milam said as she dragged her friend away. After both of them left, Rimuru snapped her fingers. Then the arena where they just fought began to change. After a few seconds it changed into a blacksmith shop. Black smoke came out of Rimuru's body, and in the next moment it took the shape of Seal. Rimuru looked at Seal and asked, Do you think we have enough time to do it? Yes, according to my calculations we have enough time. Milam will be too preoccupied to notice our absence, Seal said. Good, then let's get this started, Rimuru said as she stretched her muscles a bit. Yes, agreed, Seal said as she changed their clothes into one of working wear. What they are about to do will inevitably make their clothes get dirty. Well then, Seal, let's get our hands dirty, Rimuru said as she and Seal began their newest project. The next day, are you sure you want to bring all those things when you go out, Milam? Ivarage asked as she looked at the packing bag that was as big as a small room-sized mountain. And what the hell did you pack for the bag to be this huge? She asked in wonder. Due to some work, she and Veldora went to the human world and came back a little late last night, so she went to sleep as soon as she came home. But when he woke up today and was about to head to the kitchen to make some coffee, and that's when she saw this huge backpack. Since Rimuru wouldn't pack like this, she knew the culprit should be Milam. So when she saw Milam, she directly questioned her. Hee, don't worry Aunt Eva, I can lift this with no problem. I'm super strong you know, Milam said while showing off her muscles. Sai care to enlighten me on what you are bringing? Ivarage asked as she had a headache. She swear Milam is as stupid as her father. My clothes, my secret cookie stash, my whole collection of manga with the whole cupboard, my super comfy bed and oh right I almost forgot to pack Velgaya's snack. Milam was listing out her stuff when she suddenly realized she forgot to pack some other things too. She then went towards the kitchen to get Velgaya's snack packet. Ivarage was speechless. She now understood why that bag was so large. Milam practically packed everything in her room. If she didn't know any better she would think Milam is moving out for good. Arrgg whatever I let Rimuru deal with this shit, she said as pushed the troublesome stuff from her head. It's not like Milam will go on her journey without Rimuru making sure she has everything she needs for the trip. And besides she was sure Milam would make up some absurd excuses that would make her speechless again. So as they say, let the professionals handle it. Phew, finally we managed to finish it in time. For a moment there I thought we might not make it in time. Rimuru said as she used the towel to wipe out her sweat. That is impossible with my calculations, we would never be late, Seal interjected as she pouted. She didn't know whether it was just her own thinking but lately Rimuru seemed to have lost some credibility on her words. Well I just hope Milam would love her farewell gift, Rimuru said as she tried her best from looking at Seal. She seems to have made Seal upset as there is a piercing glare on her back. Just as the atmosphere was about to get awkward a pink blur dashed towards them, and just when it was about to collide with them it suddenly stopped. Where were you guys? I searched all over for you too, the pink blur who is also known as Milam Nava complained as she jumped around. Ha sorry about that Milam. Me and Seal were caught up in a very important task, so did you pack everything you need for your trip? Rimuru said as she ruffled Milam's hair. Come one let me show you, Milam said as she dragged Rimuru to show her packing bag. After both of them a few minutes passed by in silence then Rimuru's shout reverberated in the whole house. Milam did you pack everything in your room for this bag to be this big? Ha. Hearing those words Seal who was a bit couldn't help but chuckle. Not wanting to miss the interesting show Seal too went towards where the commotion is happening. Milam can make some very convincing arguments.